Hello and welcome back to the channel. It's me, Mark, and today we are looking at a solar system. So if you have a current solar system on your roof, as lots of people do due to the boom that we saw sort of 10, 15 years ago, and you're currently generating more electricity than you are using, there is a good chance you are not getting the best value from your system. If you're an electrician watching this, there's a very good prospect that you're going to have a lot of consumers getting in touch with you in exactly that position. So we're going to look at this today. It's not something we've done before on the channel. I'm excited to share it with you and also go through the process ourselves. Matty and Nathan are going to be out on site involved with this one as well. There is other elements of more traditional electrical work. So we've got a consumer unit to put in place of a 3036 fuse wire board. We've also got a sub-main circuit going down to the garage. And we're going to be utilising some of the best products on the market for consumers who are in exactly this position from Myenergi. So if you are kind of working with an existing solar system and a customer's got an electric vehicle and they want to make best use of the generation off their roof and tie all of that in together, the solution that Myenergi offer through the Zappi, the Harvi, the Hub and the Eddi is unrivaled in my opinion. We're going to show it all coming together out on site through the course of this video. It's always better to demonstrate and talk through what we're doing rather than discuss in advance, but I will try all the same. So basically, we've got a good solar system on the roof. There's good plans available for us to work with. We're going to swap the existing consumer unit, install a sub-circuit out to the garage. So that's a 10mm 3-core 50 amp circuit. We're going to pop the Zappi in the garage off that board. We've then got to make sure we get all of the CT clamps in place to make sure we know what we're generating, what's been consumed and where, and then tie all of that in together through the awesome software package that Myenergi have put together through the hub, so the customer knows exactly what's going on with their solar system. And there's potential in the future for a battery system to be tied in with this as well. So there is that factor in our minds with this installation. We'll show you it all out on site. Typical as ever, I'm going to be the one under the stairs changing the consumer unit. Apparently, I fit in there best. I'm not sure I really buy into that, but there was some clouds in the sky and it looked like it might rain, so I wasn't going to argue. Let's jump straight out to site. Let's see how this all comes together. As always, if you want to get involved with the comments in the discussion, let us know what you think, if you'd have done it differently, or you have any questions about what we've done. Fire away. I love the engagement in and around all of that. Let's jump on with the video and see what Matthew and Nathan are up to out on site. Okay, so this is out on site and you can see we've got a 60 amp service fuse there, some nice flexi tails into the meter. This is the solar setup and really lovely to see some plans there. So we can see where all of the isolators and equipment are located. This is the old BS3036 fuse wire board that needs to come out. We've gone for a fuse box board going in. Again, double pole Type A RCBOs. Absolute win on those ones. Should be a fairly straightforward one to pull out. So you've got the label printer already. This is inside the fuse box board. For those of you who installed loads of these, you'll be familiar with this already. Comes preloaded with the SPD, all ready to go. Nice big knockouts in the back, and we can get this prepped, ready to get on the wall. And yes, you can see I've done that pretty super quick there. I've gone for some heavy duty labeling on all these fly leads just because I'm doing it off the wall, and if there is anything needs shifting around, I know exactly what is going where. So that's to make it easy for me as the installer more than anything else. A nice pile of rubbish there. Always annoys me a bit, the packaging on these things, but I guess it is what it is. They want to make sure they come safe and dry and ready to go. So we've got all the grommet strip in the back. This is out in the garage, and you can see Matty's done this. He's popped the little board out there, and again we've gone for another SPD. We've got to take some of the old circuits out of this top corner here where I'm going to show you. They kind of all terminate up into there, and we're going to rejig them back into our new board and make sure they're all safe and serviceable. There'll be elements of rewiring with all of this as well. There did used to be a secondary supply down to the garage, but the customers had that cut off because they want to have it all off the single meter and being able to make benefit of those solar panels. You can see outside Nathan's been set to with the pickaxe, and he's got a nice little trench, dug out about halfway, so he's well on with that. We need to get under the stairs in the house, which are basically just through that front door there. So we're going to track along the bottom of that flower bed and then punch in to the property. See, that's the Zappi on the wall, and the customer want it hidden away behind the bush. So that's their choice. That's why it's going there. They don't want it visible from the road. And yeah, we've got our cabling in all ready to go there. That should be a pretty straightforward one to wire in. And as I say, the cable just drops over to that front door just at the side there, and then in and under the stairs. So yeah, it's not the longest run in the world, but again, we need to bring a reasonable sized cable down so that we can power that Zappi and a few sockets and lights down here. These ladders are pretty decent. They're one of Amazon's special buys, so they fold down into a really small, compact size that you can get in your van. I'll show them folding up later on actually. And again, yeah, Matty's got to get his Zappi into that board now, get the sub circuit down in. We've gone for a 10mm 3-core coming down to the garage. Obviously the Zappi's going out in 6mm, and these are all going to have to be ramped down for the time being while the DNO get on with doing their upgrade work. Obviously they've taken this supply off now, so that's not currently putting a load on the local network, and they can get the 100 amp head in place inside the house. So this is all part of the long-term plan. You can see the hubs there and the Harvi all ready to go. Zappi's on the wall. You know, we've made a decent start, almost enough time for a little game of darts. So we've got the old wire fuse box off the wall, wire fuse. You can see it's wooden backed. Some nice big chunky bits of brass in there, which is always good to see. And these cables all come out in a reasonably easy place to dress into the new board. Although I have had to tweak my RCBO layout, as you will see as this moves along. I think there's a lesson to be learned with some of these double screw terminals of the past. Perhaps we should revisit that. If we look at the install down at the garage now, you can see I'm missing a blank there, typical, and actually my fault. I under ordered, and the stock of them are actually left back at our unit. You can see we've got our feed cable all cleated in down to the bottom there running off, and then that's the outgoing one to the charger again, nicely cleated. Out in the garage we've tapped back into the existing circuits. This is just temporary. It's all going to be rewired down here in the not too distant future. But just for now, so they've got the power and lights back on, we've hooked into what was there with a couple of legs up to the old twin and earth junction boxes. Outside, the Zappi is now on the wall, as you'll see here, so that's all mounted and terminated and ready to go. We've got our supply circuit now safely in and buried and covered over, as you've seen earlier on in this video. We just need to pop a couple of extra cleats down near where we punch through into the house. It's been left loose just so we can shape it and get it through nicely to the understairs cupboard. As you'll see here, we're actually cleated under the stairs, so we're all nice and secure there and tidied up into the bottom of this main consumer unit. And as you'll notice, the labelling on that isn't quite right because I have had to shuffle everything down just to avoid lengthening the conductors in there. But we've got our steel wire submain in. That's all set now. Back out in the garage, you can see the internals of that little consumer unit. So we've got our main feed all wired in. Obviously we've banjoed up the fly lead, not banjoed, but off into the earth nut. All the cables nicely dressed away and marked up so we know what's what, and we'll get those blanks issues sorted out. I don't like to mix and match the blanks, so I've swapped for something else. That's the twin and earth just looped over, and again, it's just a temporary measure for now. We'll be back to sort that out in the future. So if we jump outside and look at the Zappi, I can run through some of the features of it. You can see now we've got all of the CT clamps set up, and I'll show you that in a little minute. But we can go in and have a little look through some of the settings and see how intuitive all this is. The Myenergi products are so easy to link together, and once they're all paired up and you've got the system working, all the information is accessible from the Zappi itself, so we can see what's going on in terms of the wider install, what the solar panels are generating and stuff. Also gain access into the menu, and the thing to remember here, if you're using the Harvi with the CTs linked into that, you have to go into the Zappi and make sure you turn off its internal CT monitoring, so it will start to use the Harvi's measurements instead. And then through the Zappi you can access the Harvi's settings if you like, and make sure you set your CT clamps to the appropriate thing they're monitoring. So in our case we've got a CT clamp on the grid connection and also a CT clamp on the solar generation, so we know what each is doing, and then the Zappi can make the best use of that generated energy. We do have an Eddi to include on this install as well onto the immersion, and again that's going to need a CT clamp linked into it. But as with some issues with stock that lots of people are suffering, we've not been able to get the Eddi in time for this video, but it is going to go in when we're back to do a few other bits and pieces in a couple of weeks time, and I'll cover that on a video then. But you can see here these options are so simple to work through. They're well covered in the printed manual, which is fantastic. You don't have to log into a website to get the instructions. They come in the box, and yeah, it's all really user simplicity is the key here, because often it could be consumers who might be setting all this up. So the fact it's straightforward, simple to do, easy to understand is a huge win. So we can go and have a look inside as well in a minute. You can just see there the solar generation, what the house is consuming. But inside you can see where the CTs are, and this is just roughly done for the minute because the DNO are coming out to do some work. But you can see we've got a CT on the solar and on the grid, and they're then put into CT1 and CT2 on the Harvi. It gets its energy from those CT clamps, so it doesn't need a power supply of its own. We've also got a hub on this install, so all of this information links up to the internet for the consumer to access through the Myenergi app. And I'll show you that in a minute. Lots of green lights, which is always a good sign. You can see we've got connection into the Zappi and also into the Harvi, and it's all happily connected up onto the Internet of Things so that consumer can see what's going on. And again, ignore that socket that's on the floor. It's one the customer had in use. We're replacing that. It's not staying as it is. You can see there it still needs relabeling at the consumer unit, and I'll get to that in a minute and show you that we have actually made sure that's done. This is the Harvi and hub mounted, and the relabeling of this consumer unit. Now the tails aren't staying as they are on this one, it is just temporary. Like I said, the DNO have got to come out and upgrade the head. We're going to wait and see exactly what they do, and then we'll get that done as usual and glanded up nicely into the board. You can see in the instructions, this is some of the user features, so it talks you through how you can monitor and use the Zappi to get the best value from your solar panels, and also the installation instructions are in there, which talks about some of the settings you have to change to get the CT clamps to work in the correct way, especially if you're using a Harvi, because there are a few that need adjusting. Also the grid limit, so obviously in this install we've set our grid limit to 60 amps, so we know we can't exceed that service fuse rating, and also some of the other settings in there to do with monitoring if you have a battery system. The Myenergi system for eco-friendliness, if you like, and getting the maximum benefit of your solar panels, battery storage, and even storing energy into a hot water tank is unmatched in my opinion. We'll go and have a look out at the garage now. Again, you can see we've got those blanks in, matching for my OCD, and yeah, all the cables dressed away, connected up. That old supply is long since disconnected, that's no longer in use, and they can make use of the solar generated energy in the garage as well now. We'll have a little look at the app, so I've just popped this on my phone. You can see it basically replicates the information on the Zappi itself, so you can see that we've got a solar of 2.7 kilowatt, the house is consuming around 3 kilowatts at that time, and there's a bit of drawdown from the grid because of that. And again, the app, very simple and straightforward, which is what you want as a consumer's interface. They want to understand what's going on in the easiest possible way, which this does perfectly. So quite clearly through the course of this video we've been able to see exactly how you can harness all of the energy from your solar panels and get the maximum benefit from that yourself as a consumer, so to make sure as much of that energy as possible goes into your vehicle, your battery storage, or a hot water cylinder, and the intuitive way all of those products work to make that happen. So we can see there with the issue we would have connecting the CT clamps physically out to the Zappi itself when it's on a separate building to where the main supply is. We've been able to utilise the Harvi and its CT clamps and then transferring that information to the Zappi and the hub, so that can then be shared across the internet and between the products themselves. And as I said, we're going to add an Eddi into the mix here as well, so we can further improve the places that people can store that solar generation without exporting it back to the grid at a much reduced value than you will pay to import essentially. And yeah, it's just really straightforward. Again, pairing the products, I didn't show it on the video because it is so simple, but essentially with the Harvi, if you hold the pair button down for a second or two, it'll start the red flashing light. You can then go out to the Zappi and do a search for a new device. It will find it and pair together, and straight away all of that information between the two products starts exchanging hands. You just need to remember to adjust the CT connection within the Zappi itself, and then make sure you assign the right CTs within the Harvi, and you do that from the Zappi user interface in this case. And yeah, it's really simple, really straightforward. Same with the hub itself, which is what gives you that gateway to the internet, so you can share that information between the app, as I showed you on the video, or the desktop, as we'll have a look at in a little second. And again, you just press the pair button, off you go to the Zappi, make sure you get that all set up and registered, and away you go. When you do come to set up the app itself, you will have to enter the hub serial number and also I can't remember what they term it, it's like an installer reference code or something, but it comes up in the Zappi itself, information page 2, and that's all covered in the user manual, which, as I said, is fantastic. The wider install on this, we are waiting on the DNO to come back and give us an upgraded main fuse. Because they've been able to disconnect that garage's supply, they've now got capacity within the local distribution network to upgrade that main service fuse to 100 amps. And once they've done that, I don't think they're going to have to reposition or move anything, but the possibility is still there. So I've left all of those CT leads at their maximum length, just in case we end up having to run them somewhere else. And likewise, the tails into the board, we've just made temporary use of what was there already. They are glanded in and secured, but we will be changing those for some flexi tails. But again, I wasn't sure if the Henley block was going to end up getting moved or the main metering or whatever. It's not worth making things perfect when you're not sure what the end result is going to look like in the future, because you'll end up repeating work, and that's just a pointless exercise at the end of the day. But as you'll have seen from my other videos, we will get back to that. We will make sure that's all tidied up. We are there to put the Eddi in as well, so we can sort all of that out at that time. And yeah, that's kind of it. Okay, we can see in the Myenergi app here that we've got a little bit of data building up already. If we look at this, you can see we have used 1.86 kilowatts from the home today. The Zappi's had no vehicle plugged into it, so there's been no use there. If we look in the consumed and exported tab, if I click on it in the right place, you can see here we've imported 0.4 kilowatt hours, we've consumed 0.25, and we've exported the bulk of our solar energy. And again, if there's no battery vehicle connected and we don't have the Eddi, that's what's been happening for this consumer for quite a prolonged period now. They are waiting on a full electric vehicle to arrive, and they do also have a hybrid, which is currently with one of the occupiers at their place of work. Normally, they both are working from home, so they can have electric vehicles on charge through the course of the day. And also, as I say, there's an Eddi going in here as well, which can happily help look after the tank. And yeah, it's just really insightful to see this build up over time. Obviously, we're in the early stages here. We can't really make much of an analysis of the data because it has just gone live today. If we look at the dashboard itself, you get all of the information around Myenergi, so you can set up your account, control who's got access to it, extend your warranty. You can have a look at all of your devices, so we can see here that they're all active and what their serial numbers are and such like. You know, really insightful and intuitive system. And again, you can make all those changes. You can set your energy tariff, read the Myenergi tweets as well, join their discussions on their forums, share your location. If your products move around and things change, you can adjust all of that information as well. So yeah, really useful. And as I say, as this information builds up through the course of time, you can really put that data to your benefit to get the maximum value from your solar system. We're often spending large chunks of money on these things. Typical battery storage and solar system, you're upwards of £10,000 to £15,000. And you want to make sure all of that tied in together is working in your interests more often than it isn't. And utilising Myenergi products will enable you to do that quite handsomely. So we've seen there through the app, there's quite a lot of extra information on the desktop app. You can really dial into some of the data actually that's going on within your home. So that's a fantastic win in terms of consumers understanding where their energy is going within their installation, be that to the vehicle battery, out to the grid itself. And as these things develop and people add on battery storage and other things, you know, it usually tends to be the way that these things build up over time, because there is a cost consideration of just going for this whole off-grid install all at once. Certainly in our experience, we're seeing people kind of build up their systems in different areas. Having the Myenergi equipment installed alongside that is really powerful because it works with and alongside that at every single stage. You can expand and build on that. I don't think there's other products out there that do anything like this in terms of full management of everything to do with solar, battery storage, electric vehicles, and even hot water cylinder heating. It really is a fantastic product and system. And again, this isn't paid or sponsored. I'm just an installer. I don't get paid by Myenergi for talking about their stuff whatsoever. I've bought all of the equipment that's gone on this job. I'm just sharing my experience of it really. And again, if there are any consumers out there who need some help with their solar systems and you want to get a bit better value from them, if you've got a hot water cylinder tank or you're entering the world of being an electric vehicle owner, please do get in touch. We are here as service providers at the end of the day, electricians looking for that kind of work. And if you've stumbled across this video, drop me a message or get involved in the comments and I'll be happy to speak with you as well. For the electricians watching, as always, you'll know I am all for discussion. So if you've got any questions on any of the products we've installed or any of the methods I've used, get involved in the comments. I really enjoy the engagement around all of that. Thank you all for watching. Please give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all on the next one very soon.